Hey, what's up everyone, it's Dustmos, and today we're taking a look at the Float by Old Blood Noise Endeavors. The Float is a wild, multi-channel, modulated filter pedal that works either in dual mono or stereo, or even a sort of series connected mono setup, and it's a really cool, really fun, different pedal. Definitely a unique twist on any kind of normal sort of filter type pedal for sure. First up, I have to admit, I love the look of this pedal. The art on it is like crazy cool, and I really like the inverted color palettes on either side. Kind of not only separates out the two as like the two independent filters, but also just has a really cool aesthetic, and I like even the flipped knobs and sliders. Really a lot of attention to detail was paid, and you gotta appreciate that. It's really cool with all the different waveforms on board, and obviously the different routing options. Really cool, really tons of hands-on control. All the fun knobs and switches here where you can just really get into some serious trouble if you want, which is a really fun thing to do. But before we get this all hooked up and hearing what it sounds like in all its crazy glory, we will go over the knobs and switches and buttons and connectors and all that good stuff. And then, yeah, we'll get hooked up and hear how it sounds. This is Signal Colors. So as you can tell, the Float has a lot of controls on top. There's a lot going on here. There are 10 knobs, 2 sliders. You've got 4 multi-position toggle switches, 2 soft latching bypass switches, and yeah, lots and lots of stuff going on. You've got 2 LEDs right here as well to kind of indicate what's going on with the pedal as well. On this side, you've got an expression jack on 1/4 inch, of course, and then you've got in 1 and 2 the power outlet or power jack input, and then the outs 1 and 2. Because there's so many controls, I actually recommend checking out the really detailed instruction manual for the Float. I'm going to do my best here to describe it, but there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of kind of intricate ways some of the elements work together. So it's definitely best just to check out the manual if you want. I'll link to it in the description. That being said, on this side, it's basically a mirror image of this side, with the exception of these 2 control toggles in the middle, which controls sync and this min-max value thing. We'll get to those. So to start, we've got volume, which is the volume of the filtered signal. The sensitivity controls the direction and sensitivity of the envelope. Resonance, of course, is the typical sort of resonance that you find for filters. It's the exaggeration of the frequencies around the cutoff point of the filter. Rate is the LFO rate. Here you've got a control that snaps into place, which I always like, and it's for the wave shape of the modulation. On this toggle, you can select a low pass, band pass, or high pass, whether it's far left, center, or right. And this is the bypass control of filter 2. Here you've got the slider for the cutoff value of the filter. And this is cool. This is a toggle that controls whether or not sync is on or off. And sync will match the rate of filter 1 with filter 2 based on a subdivision that you set with the rate knob on filter 2. So you kind of pick your base rate with filter 1, and then you can make the subdivision operate independently with filter 2. And it's kind of my favorite trick, I think, of the Float so far. And min-max here is a minimum and maximum value setting for the cutoff frequencies and the rate. You can see how these are labeled with the black surrounds, and it matches the min-max. That's how you kind of know they're related. So you flip it into max, you can set the max of all those, flip it into min, and you'll set the min of all those. Like I said, there's a lot more detail in the manual, so check that out if you want to find a little bit more how these work together. But without further ado, we'll hook it up and just hear how it sounds and explore. Let's check it out. Okay, so as you can tell, I've got the Float now paired up with the Elektron Digitone, the FM synth groove box from Elektron, and the Octatrack MKII, also from Elektron, the 8-track dynamic performance sampler. I'm going to play through two different patterns, both of which are using both devices. The drum and rhythm type content is coming from the Octatrack, and the synth stuff is going to come straight out of the Digitone. So as usual, I'm going to start with my clean pattern, which sounds like this. A little basic, a little repetitive coming from the Digitone, but that's so you can hear what the float is doing. So just some setup stuff. Right now we've got sync turned on, so these are going to be synced together, the rates of the LFO. However, you can adjust the rate of this one, which is going to be the left ear, by adjusting this knob. And that'll let you split it into different intervals based on the other side. Also, one thing to note, the outputs of these, the way it kind of comes out, I don't like as much for me, so I'm gonna do it my way, which is to actually flip the output, because right now with it flipped, this is what you hear on the left side, this is the right side, and that just makes more sense for me. So as you hear, I activate the right channel, and it sounded like it dropped out, but that's because it was waiting for the filter sweep. Now I'll activate the other channel. Same kind of deal. But as you can see, this fades in and illustrates what's happening with the strength or the openness of the filter. So right now I can adjust the cutoff together or independent. As well as the resonance. Turn the resonance all the way down and open the filter all the way up. So because this one's a division of this side, I'm going to tweak and get a little more movement. As you can see, this one in here, this one is coming in at a slower rate, and this one's about double. You can get pretty crazy with it. I'm gonna up the resonance a bit. And we can change the wave, and they're independent, so make this one a square. Now, as you can hear, at the bottom of these LFOs, it basically goes silent, and that's because of where the minimums are set. So you can flip this over and hold it, because it automatically toggles back When you hold that, you can adjust the bottom of the dip of the LFO. Or the LFO, but the cutoff. And the tighter you make those, kind of less of that filter sweep you hear. Watch my volumes because the resonance can get pretty intense. Well, that's pretty cool. As you can hear, I left the right channel pretty resonant and the left non. And it's cool having the independent volume control so you can compensate, since you can hear the one with the resonance a bit more. You have to remember that it's set that way so you don't accidentally change something and it's like crazy loud out of one side. So I like the way that's sounding, but I'm going to try to change the rate to sort of tempo sync a little bit more. Let's see how we can do. And go a little faster. We'll change the cutoff points of both of these. Now I'll switch up the waveform again. You know, it's kind of like inverted saw kind of thing, so it jumps up, open fast, and then closes really slow. Switch this one to triangle. I'll go ahead and set the minimum of just the right channel all the way down. And then cut off all the way up, so it'll emphasize it a little bit more. In that it lets it fade to absolutely nothing. We'll change the wave up on this side as well to also square. Bring the resonance back down, bring the volumes back to meet each other again. And right now, this whole time they've been set on low pass. And again, you can separate these out. So if we want to make this right side that's faster, maybe I just took off the resonance, but we'll up the resonance again and then switch it to high pass. Switch the wave again. That one's like the leaning saw kind of thing, but ramping up and then jumping down. You can make them match if you want. However, you can hear they kind of alternate, but that's because they're on opposing, if you want to call it that, waveforms, where this one ramps up and then cuts out, this one jumps in and fades out. So they're kind of working opposite of each other, but that's a cool effect as well. Make the minimums match again. Put this one on random wave. Which is kind of crazy, but pretty interesting. Pretty tripped out, kind of filtery, trem kind of thing happening. I get some double random. Up the resonances, you can really hear that. Kind of play right at the edge of the resonance there. Pretty cool. I'll go back to like a sine wave on both. And bypass. And that's what it sounds like clean. All right, that's it for that pattern. I'm going to reset and I'll bring it back with a second pattern. Okay, back with pattern 2, and as you can tell, still with the Octatrack and the Digitone. Just kind of switch things up a little bit. This pattern's a little bit crazier, a little bit weirder, but I think that's cool. So let's hear what it sounds like clean. Here we go. So some like FM string action from the Digitone, and this weirdo beat coming from the Octatrack. Also have this lead part. Not really a lead, but like an accent. But another thing to filter. Let's do it. I'm assuming you already watched the first half. I'm just going for it now. Kind of an example how you can maybe play it, which is kind of cool. Let's set the minimum. Just some kind of resonant thing. Actually, let's just hear that. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna bring in that twinkly bit. So here you kind of don't hear the lead bit in the left channel, and that's because I set the cutoff minimum a little bit higher, and plus this is still on low pass while this is high pass. So I actually can bring that back. So that's back on low pass. So you really hear the higher frequencies just disappear. You can go crazy with the rate. So here they're matching because I went a little off from what the two rate knobs do. That's in the manual. That was one of those things I was talking about that basically it's mathematic and it can get weird. So they blocked it from getting too weird. But it's just weird enough. So you can actually turn the sync off. I haven't done that yet, so I'll do that now. So now you set independent rates. This isn't a division of this one any longer. As you can very much tell. So this is a lot of fun. Switch up the filter type to bandpass on both of them, which is pretty interesting. I'm going to reset the minimum to about there, so we can still hear that twinkly bit. I think that's a bit too high. There we go. Set this one back to high pass. And there we go. That is the Float by Old Blood Noise Endeavors. Super, super fun, crazy cool. So, what do I think about the Float? Well, the Float is a really fun pedal. It feels really playable, which that's something that I really appreciate and isn't the most common thing among all effects. You know, some of them you have to like kind of set them once, and if you move anything, everything kind of goes haywire. But in the case of the Float, actually moving things and manipulating kind of the parameters of the filter movement is actually what makes it cool. Obviously the double LFO action, the splitting the two channels, even being able to do a crazy dual in series mono thing is kind of different and cool. I think it sounds really good, especially like in my second demo that I did. It was really fun to tailor the cutoff points and change up the LFO speeds and stuff like that. I think it really is cool to kind of have that motion and that movement, and having a pedal do that for you is really cool. As you can see, it even added interesting new, or I guess as you could hear, it added interesting new rhythmic elements as well. So, you had like the rate of this side and the rate of that side and them kind of working off of each other. It was really, really cool. So as usual, Old Blade Noise Endeavor's quality is right up there with the best of them. Works really well. These are a little jiggly left and right, but they don't feel like they're going to break or anything. And the up and down movement has a nice resistance and stuff. I just think it's just kind of how those work. I really like the selectable waveforms. That's a really cool feature. It really kind of takes us to the next level. Even if they were fixed, to sine or something, even having the ratio and the programmable cutoffs and stuff, the ratio, I mean the division, that would still be cool. But then having all the different waveforms really kind of opens this up a lot more and makes it really interesting. One thing I didn't do is hook up the expression, which I think you could probably even take this further, even using their expression ramper or something like that, or a slider to further kind of get some hands-on craziness going with this thing, which would be pretty cool to check out. I'll probably try that out in a layers video when I pair this up with something else down the road. It's really nice having the independent volume controls, and yeah, it just makes it so you can mix this in, especially if, say, like as in my example, one of them was really resonant and then one of them wasn't. You can boost the one that wasn't so the volumes kind of match up, which is definitely handy and a nice touch. And lastly, what can I say about the art? I think it's super, super cool. Again, I like the inverted color palettes going on here on both sides, and this font's really cool. It's just all really good looking. So yeah, overall, I think the float is really cool. It's probably the most fun that I've had with a filter effect pedal thus far, and I really recommend it. Anyway, that's going to be it from me today. Thanks so much for checking out the float with me, and I'll see you next time.